Namaste, Jai Bharat. Perhaps the most strangest army in the entire world is Pakistani army. Pakistani army is not a regular army in that sense of the term. They are a corporate army. Why do you call them as a corporate army? Because they do business. See, structurally, the army has so much of per capita income. That structure, that statistics is with me. Leave alone. I don't want to go into the statistics because it's available to the world. So the army makes serious generals, etc., very senior officers in charge of so many things. For instance, they have real estates. They own land. The army owns a lot of land. The thing is that the army has property, and the army invests, and the army makes money. Army makes profits, and where this profit goes, it doesn't go to the state. It goes to the army, which of course gets shared by the army senior officers, generals, etc. Forget about a soldier. He is only supposed to do the spade work. He is only supposed to do the groundwork. He is only supposed to do the dirty work for the army because he is a common Fauji. But the senior officers are demigods. So they have plenty of money. They make a lot of money because they invest. They do business. They make tremendous amount of profit. And this makes the army rich. They have no time for training. They have no time for training. They have no time for war. They are a corporate people living in uniform and luxury. They rule the nation. They, whatever the army says, the civil government, when they have a puppet namesake elected democratic government, which really is not democracy, because it's the army who decides which party should win the elections. That's very interesting. The army who decides which party should win the elections, and accordingly that particular party gets maximum votes, and the whoever is wants to be in whichever position, the army makes that they will reach there, ensures that they will reach there, and it's a simple thing for them. They have been doing it for all these days, all these years. It's a normal thing in the Pakistan. They know it. They still go and give votes, and their votes doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't count anything because this everything there is manipulated. Everything is manipulated, and they don't even bother to keep records. They just declare that so and so is elected. He won by so much of votes and etc. This goes on. Who watches? Where are the ballot papers? Counted them, kept them on record, kept them in sealed rooms, and nothing of this sort shall be happening. They just declare, and they would say, this man is president, this man is chief justice, this man has to be this man has to be that. The army decided this man should become prime minister, this man should become president, this man should be defense minister. All those things ultimately decided by the army collectively. Collectively means those few people who are in charge of affairs. So army is a money making thing. It's the best business. It's the best business. You join the army, and then you reach up to a senior level, then you're a part of this protection. Marx, I just suddenly remembered this funny thing. Marx speaks about different modes of protections. Marx, interestingly, had created a different kind of dialectics, basing on the dialectics of Hegel. He called it as dialectical materialism. There is materialistic dialectics. He synthesized the Faber-Backian materialism. Of course, Marx himself has done his PhD on Epicurean materialism. She was drawn to materialism right in the beginning, basically. Marx is a genuine scholar, though he's very speculative in a very funny way. So he was influenced by materialism, and he found Faber-Backian materialism much more attractive, much more appealing to him for a simple reason. Because God was a question which was disturbing Marx. He basically is a Jew where the God concept is capital G. And such a powerful concept of God in Judaism, such an absolutely powerful concept of God. And God-fearingness is natural. It is built into the Jewish tradition. They're very, very, very respectful. They can't dream of violating any of the commandments given by Jehovah. So Marx was also under the pressure of the God's wrath, if I use that word. He also was afraid. But then what appealed in Feuerbach's materialist remarks is that Feuerbach says God is self-esteem of man. Now that appealed to Marx very much, because there is nothing like God. It's only self-esteem. Whatever shortcoming man has, he eliminates it and projects a perfect man, and he started calling it as God. That's what he implies. It's not a lesson class, so it takes time. I won't be able to go into details. So this very concept of God as a self-esteem of man, it became very appealing to Marx. So instead of depending on this Epicurean materialism on which he did his PhD, he synthesized Hegelian dialectics. But Hegelian dialectics is a method, it's nothing else. It's a method to explain Hegel's absolute. His philosophy is the theory of absolute idealism. So they call the Europeans have this frames in they put names in frames and mention things in that frame. So many times it doesn't confine to frame. That many times their expressions become reductionistic. So Marx synthesized Hegelian dialectical method and Feuerbachian materialism and created a materialistic dialectics, which is mostly called as dialectical materialism, which is supposed to be the philosophy of Marxism. So there he talks about different epochs in society. He says there's one epoch is primitive communism, then goes to feudalism, then a third epoch is capitalism, then of course the other epoch is socialism, and then goes to communism. This is how he tries to explain things, and each epoch he calls it as mode of production, modes of production. So he calls it as capitalistic mode of production, socialistic mode of production, communistic mode of production. This is modes of production he speaks. But using that word, taking it from Marx, the modes of production, the mode of production of Pakistan army is this. They have the army is itself is a mode of production. They create wealth, they create money, they distribute wealth among themselves, and they are autonomous in the sense they are governed by the rules created by they themselves. They have that kind of autonomy. So this is the situation in Pakistan. And don't think that these forces are fighting forces. They really can't fight. Something like China. China's one-son policy has crippled their army, because 70s I think they had this one-child policy. Because of one-child policy, China communist those days is communist rule is dictatorship. Their economy is capitalistic. That they have changed. So they become rich. So the dictatorships, you should only have one child. If you happen to have second child, you either abort or get lost. So they used to go for abortion. I mean, if they have second child, one child policy created Amul babies. Now Amul is an India Bharatiya company about 30 kilometers from where I live. Amul factories. Amul babies, very soft people. One child, extremely cared, and economically they are supported. They have basic needs are they given, because that's supposed to be principle of communist economy. And then their production is all capitalistic, but the distribution of wealth is tending towards communism, not really communist. But then they see that there is no poverty, there is no dearth of essential existence. So you have this kind of a youth who are extremely soft, not hardened people, and you create an army of soft babies. They are babies, soft babies. You can't expect them to fight. They are not harsh people. They are not meant for fighting. In Varnashrama Dharma of the Vedic structure of society, only people with Chhatra Viryas should go for fight. So you make them Kshatriyas. You call them Kshatriyas. Those who are Chhatra Viryas are Kshatriyas. Those who are knowledgeable people, they are Brahmins. Remember that you become a Brahmin only when you acquire knowledge. It's not hereditary. It's also not necessary that a Kshatriya son should have Chhatra Virya. It happens in with the nature. You have this nature, you have that nature. That's a gift from nature. Somebody can sing, somebody cannot sing. Everyone cannot sing, and everyone cannot write, everyone cannot draw. No, this because of this. These are the varieties of nature. So people with Chhatra Vidyas become Kshatriyas. So we have this classification, only they go for battles. Brahmana can't go for battle. He's supposed to be a teacher. He's supposed to be a scholar. He can't do this business. And the Vaishya, he's a tremendous, great businessman. Like many people in the world, especially you look at US, the president himself is a businessman. They are Vaishyas. They have the tremendous mind, very practically vibrant mind. So this kind of classifications we have. So you have this Amul babies, I call army in China. They are not hard soldiers. You can't force them. You cannot coerce courage into people. You cannot force people to be courageous. It has to come naturally. So that's why the Chinese defense, Chinese military is so soft. They are not used to. They go out of compulsion, and given a chance, they will cry and run away. Soft people. And Chinese basically the people are very good people, essentially good people. They are not harsh. Only the rules is merciless. Only the dictatorship part of communism is merciless. Otherwise, they are a good society. We used to have very good relations with them, historical closeness, and they're supposed to be Buddhists. Of course, they have nothing to do with the religion in general, or officially. But then I think people are still practicing Buddhism. There, Buddhists, noble thoughts, noble people, noble thinking. Buddhism is such a religion with nobility, and Buddha himself talks about four noble truths. Sarvam Dukkhamasti, like that it begins. He himself talks about four noble truths. So Buddhism has got an inbred nobility in them, and they will fight like the Kung Fu fighters. They will fight when they are absolutely hard pressed and coerced. Even a cat which is cornered will become ferocious. You not that. Your cat, very very loving animal. When you corner a cat, we under limit it will fight, and you can't stand a cat if he fights back. If the cat fights back, remember that. So this is a situation with the Pakistan army. There are money making unit. There are business people. There are corporate people, and these people can't fight. And even China will it will take long time for China to get hard seasoned soldiers. So don't compare these people with Bharat. We have a different kind of background. So we shall meet again with some other thought. Namaste. Jai Bharat. Jai Sri Ram.